plus Emerson Fittipaldi's teammate Kevin Cogan were all assessed penalties for pit infractions or passing the pace car after the last pit stops. Little Al has led most of this race since the long yellow flag that involved Mike Nish's accident. We are still checking on Michael's condition. Michael Andretti took the lead and led it down the long backstretch, bounced off of Johnny Rutherford. He crashed out of the race, and now Danny Sullivan, who has won the last 2 IndyCar races in a row, has moved into the lead, and progress on Bobby Rahal. 6 seconds.
He is 4th right now behind Mario Andretti, Al Unser Jr., and Danny Sullivan. Rick Mears makes another pit stop and goes back out onto the racetrack. It's just not been a good weekend at all for Rick Mears, starting in 15th position, about 4 miles an hour off of the pole speed. Rick was in for a very early pit stop, much sooner than anybody else, and although he is in the top 10, really has not been competitive at all here this weekend.
Roberto Moreno, who's running the top 4 all day long, has stopped for his final pit stop. And by the way, there's Rick Mears. One comment about Rick. He said this week, a few years ago, we won a lot of races. But you know what? A few years ago, we didn't have to work this hard to finish 4th and 5th and 6th, as everybody's caught up.
And Jeff Brabham is right behind that Pennzoil March, driven by Rick Mears. Now, an interesting individual who is holding the pit board at the wall this weekend for Rick Mears is Roger Penske Jr., Roger's son, who used to be a Super V driver, but now is devoting all of his time toward the business aspect. Roger Penske Jr. holding the pit board this weekend. We'll watch Jeff Brabham here follow Rick Mears through the course.
Jeff Brabham, who finished 9th in his IndyCar debut at Phoenix a few years back. I think it was about 1981 was when he came up to IndyCar racing after a successful career in the Super Vs. Following Rick Mears around and looking for leader Danny Sullivan, who's put a lap on Tom Sneva. There goes Sullivan to the high side of Brabham down the Lakeshore Boulevard, the long backstretch, Molson Straight, whatever you want to call it. There goes Sullivan, now back into the cockpit with Jeff Brabham and the Valvoline Hawk moving there through traffic.
Sullivan right ahead of Jeff Brabham now. It's changed for second position. Mario Andretti has moved into second, passing Al Unser Jr. Al Jr. back to third place. Rahal continues to run 4th. In 5th was Emerson Fittipaldi, but he is missing on the racetrack. He did not come around this time, and it appears as if his crew is getting ready for a pit stop for Emerson Fittipaldi.
Oh, Moreno's out.
And lots of smoke and vapor coming from the rear end of the Roberto Moreno machine, and Roberto is out of this race, and it looks like a situation very similar to the one in Cleveland, in which he had to drop out of the race very early. Now, there is Emerson Fittipaldi coming in for a pit stop. They are changing the rubber on the left side of the car, and Al Unser Jr. is also in, down to the pit area.
Something that's a little unusual. Al Unser Jr. has elected to change only 3 tires. They're going to leave the right front on. Now, they've been concerned about blistering tires as well. A very quick stop. He's off and away, burns rubber at the end of pit road, and goes back out beneath the Prince's Gate.
All right, Al Unser Jr. back out on the course. So is Emerson Fittipaldi. Bobby Rahal is now in 3rd position, and he's about 4.5 seconds behind the leader, but neither he nor the leader have made their final pit stop. There is Emerson Fittipaldi, going very slowly on the racetrack. I think perhaps there is more trouble in that car than meets the eye, because as we said, he was very slow coming around last lap before he made the pit stop.
Predictable time for a pit stop for Emo. Rahal still owes the field a pit stop. No, he cannot go the distance. He will be coming in. And we'll just have to wait and see the amount of time that he takes to enter and leave the pits, plus the amount of time it takes to do the work, as Mario Andretti is now pitting in front of us. The amount of time that all these people spend, the combination of entry, work time, and exit actually comprises the actual time that you need to pause for pits.
Watching Al Unser Jr. on the racetrack will keep the progress of the Mario Andretti pit stop in our eyes. There it is. Mario gets the service and is down off the jacks and back out on the racetrack. Mario had moved to 2nd position before coming in for that stop. He moves on the racetrack right ahead of, now alongside of, now still ahead of Kevin Cogan.
That was a close one. Mario not giving Kevin what you'd say an extra lane of racetrack there. He says, Kevin, you got that lane, that's yours. This one that I'm in, that's mine.
Pit stops being made. Bobby Rahal now moves up into second position as Danny Sullivan has the lead of this race. We anticipate a stop by Danny Sullivan and by Bobby Rahal momentarily. We continue to watch this battle on the racetrack between Kevin Kogan in the red and white 711 machine, and right ahead of him, Mario Andretti.
And it is a battle for position. Both of these people have been consistent top 10, mostly top 5, all race long since the green flag dropped. Sullivan continues to lead this race, now moving up, I believe, on Ian Ashley, the Canadian, who got a ride with Dick Simon this weekend. Canadian who was born in Germany. He grew up, spent most of his younger years in Great Britain. He holds dual citizenship from Great Britain as well as Canada. His mother was a Canadian. His father was in the Royal Air Force. As a matter of fact, his father was one of the test pilots for the early Concords. That's Ian Ashley. Ian Ashley, who has spent the last 6 or 7 years after a very serious Formula One crash plotting and planning. Here comes Danny Sullivan, the leader, plotting and planning to come back to IndyCar racing.
And we go down to Jackaroo for a call of the pit stop by the leader.
The crew is waiting for the appearance of Danny Sullivan. He rolls to a stop. The wounded wing is not as bad as it looks like out on the racetrack. Now, here's something very unusual. They are going to change only the left rear tire. They have completed it. The fuel is going in, taking on as much as they can for the end of the race. They are down and away. A brilliant stop, but whoa!
Oh, he killed the engine.
Stalled the car.
He got it going
again. He's all right, but a quick stop, but costly when he stalled it. He just took away all the advantage he had by changing only one tire.
And there goes Al Unser Jr. by him. Now, we watch for a pit stop by Bobby Rahal, who is the leader. We'll also inform you that Emerson Fittipaldi is back in the pit area and appears to be out of the race.
Bob Jack made an excellent point. He lost the advantage that they gained by changing only one tire. They figured they could make the pit stop quicker because they changed only one, that left rear, on this clockwise road course. Without a doubt, that is the tire that's getting the most abuse. It gets a lot of abuse right there at the end of the long backstretch. But what a solid point that was. The advantage that they calculated that they could really use, they lost when apparently Danny stalled the car. A really delicate touch. You have to keep these Indy cars going when they're in the pits. They don't like to run at a very slow idle like that. The Indy cars are made to go fast, and when they're very hot, they stall out very easily. The fuel he has a tendency to evaporate, and the engine's basically starved.
Emerson Fittipaldi is out of the race. He has climbed out of the car in the pit area, and they're pushing the car behind the wall. Tough break for the pole sitter this afternoon, Emerson Fittipaldi, who will have to wait for another day for IndyCar win number 2 and the first this season. Well, Bobby Rahal should be pitting soon. There you can see Emerson Fittipaldi, who has climbed out of the car and is conferring with his crew members. Ran a good race while he was out there, but it just did not last for him. Jeff Brabham also has come in for a stop and is moving very slowly out of pit road. We'll be back with more of our live coverage from Exhibition Place in Toronto. While we were away, Bobby Rahal did make his final pit stop. This is how it went. A smooth pit stop by the Steve Horn crew, and Bobby Rahal was back out onto the racetrack. He does relinquish the lead, however, to Al Unser Jr. Danny Sullivan running second, Mario Andretti third. Fourth would be Kevin Kogan, and in fifth position at the moment would be Ari Lyondike unofficially. But Rahal, you can bet, is going to be moving back up and toward the front of this pack.
Well, that's it. Everybody has made their final pit stop. Nobody will need to come in again. Now, they all came in, around, let's see, some at 71, some at 76, and some at lap 81. Now, the people who came in early, like lap 71, Roberto Moreno, might have been stretching it just a tad, but he dropped out of the race, so that eliminated that. The number 1 car, Rick Mears, also came in early, but he's several laps down. Tom Sneva came in on lap 81, still running in the top 10, but still not really a challenge to win. But everybody came in on lap 75, 76, which is just about what we told you at the top of the show. Perhaps just a tad early, but everybody is checking to make sure they got enough fuel for the finish. But it should just not be a question for anybody.